Good morning students. In our previous videos we have finished the first 4 events of respiration. Can you recollect what they are? Yes, the first one is breathing, then exchange of gases at lung level, gas transport, exchange of gases at tissue level. So the first 4 events of respiration are done. The last event of respiration is cellular respiration. Let us see cellular respiration in detail today. So students, what is cellular respiration? Students, this is the most important event of respiration where energy is liberated from glucose inside the cells. Got it? So it is the process of release of energy from glucose inside the cells. And for this, what is required? Oxygen is required. So oxidation of glucose and release of energy is what is called as cellular respiration. So students, you already understood how cells get this glucose and oxygen. Glucose comes from digestion and oxygen due to breathing. When you breathe, oxygen enters into lungs. From lungs, blood picks up oxygen and gets it to all the cells of the body. So cells have glucose and oxygen, and now glucose is broken down to energy, and this process is called as cellular respiration. Now let us see how this glucose is broken down to energy exactly. So see here students, so this is our glucose, which is a 6-carbon compound. This has entered into cell. Now glucose is inside the cell. This is cell cytoplasm. Consider this is cytoplasm of the cell. This glucose is first broken down to pyruvate. Pyruvate means pyruvic acid. So glucose is a 6-carbon compound. It is converted into a 3-carbon compound, pyruvic acid or pyruvate. So 6-carbon compound is converting into 3-carbon compound. Means what? From one glucose, 2 pyruvic acids are produced. And in this process, 8 ATPs are produced. So how many ATPs? 8 ATPs are produced. Now these pyruvic acid molecules, they enter into mitochondria. Inside this mitochondria, they react with oxygen and is broken down to carbon dioxide, water. In this process, 30 ATPs are produced. So students, observe once again, when glucose is converted into pyruvic acid, 8 ATPs are produced. And this pyruvic acid then enters into mitochondria, reacts with oxygen and produces 30 ATP. So overall, how many ATPs are produced? 38 ATPs are produced, right? So now if there is no oxygen available inside the cell, what will happen? Then also this reaction will go on. Glucose will be converted into pyruvic acid. For this reaction, no oxygen is required. After this step, the pyruvic acid stays inside cytoplasm itself because there is no oxygen. So this reaction won't take place. It stays in cytoplasm and it may go in 2 paths. In one path, pyruvic acid is converted into lactic acid, and in another path, it is converted into ethanol and carbon dioxide. But in both the processes, 6 ATPs are used up, consumed. So students, observe. Here 8 ATPs are produced, here 6 are consumed. So how many ATPs are remained? That is 2 ATPs. So if glucose goes in this pathway, in either of these pathways, how many ATPs are produced? 2 ATPs are produced. If it goes in this pathway, 38 ATPs are produced. So if glucose is broken down in presence of oxygen, then 38 ATPs are produced, and such a respiration is called as aerobic respiration. Aero means air, that is oxygen, and respiration is respiration. So in presence of oxygen, if the respiration goes on, if the breakdown goes on, then that is aerobic respiration. If it goes on in the absence of air or oxygen, then it is called as anaerobic respiration. So in anaerobic respiration, glucose is finally converted into lactic acid or ethanol plus carbon dioxide. We also call this anaerobic respiration as fermentation. Students, do you remember the definition of fermentation that you have learnt in lower classes? That is conversion of carbohydrates or sugars into alcohol, carbon dioxide, right? So this process can be called as fermentation too. Even lactic acid production is also fermentation. Okay, there is difference between anaerobic respiration and fermentation, but that you will understand in higher classes. But as of now, you remember anaerobic respiration is also called as fermentation. Got it, students? So now you understood what is cellular respiration. So cellular respiration may happen in the presence of air or in the absence of air. So if it occurs in the absence of air, it is anaerobic respiration. If it occurs in air, it is in presence of air, it is called as aerobic respiration. Now, where this aerobic respiration takes place, where anaerobic respiration takes place. So aerobic respiration is seen in all plants and animals, higher plants and animals. And anaerobic, it is seen in microorganisms. For instance, the lactic acid pathway is seen in bacteria. Do you remember lactobacillus, which is seen in curd? Right, students? Do you remember? So that bacteria forms lactic acid by this process, anaerobic respiration. Now, yeast. In yeast, we could see the ethanol production, ethanolic fermentation or ethanol. Okay, so students, this is about cellular respiration. Now, let us see an application question asked on this concept. Now, the question is, why do we get muscle cramps after heavy exercise? Muscle cramps means muscular pains. Heavy exercise చేసినప్పుడు మనకి ఎందుకు పెయిన్స్ వస్తాయి? Students, during heavy exercise, what happens is our muscle cells work hard, and to work hard they require more amount of energy. So for that they burn more and more glucose. So to burn more and more glucose they require oxygen. So we inhale more and more oxygen, but that oxygen is not sufficient to meet the high energy demand in the muscles. So these muscle cells then undergo anaerobic respiration because there is less oxygen now. Though we are inhaling, that is insufficient because glucose is burning at a high rate, that this oxygen that is coming is not sufficient. So our muscle cells undergo anaerobic respiration. Without oxygen, glucose gets broken down. And in this pathway, what is produced is lactic acid. This lactic acid remains in our muscles, and this accumulation of lactic acid causes muscular cramps. So lactic acid accumulate avadam valla manaki muscular pains anetivi vastayi anamata. So students, once again go to this slide. See here, I said cellular respiration occurs in two ways, aerobic and anaerobic. So anaerobic is seen in bacteria, yeast, and aerobic in plants and animals. Remember students, even anaerobic respiration takes place in our muscle cells when there is less amount of oxygen, and during less amount of oxygen muscle cells undergo anaerobic respiration and they produce lactic acid. So this pathway will take place in human muscle cells when they are in less oxygen levels. Got it? Yes, I hope. Next, but these pains, these muscular pains will be lost after taking some rest. So rest తీసుకున్న తర్వాత ఈ cramps, ఈ pains అంతా పోతాయి. ఎందుకు? So during resting time, we don't require that much of energy. Energy demand decreases. So when energy demand decreases, no extra amount of oxygen is required. Even the normal respiring oxygen is enough to burn the glucose. So anaerobic respiration shifts into aerobic respiration. And now the lactic acid present in the muscles, they will move to liver. See here, the lactate from muscle is moving through blood to liver, and inside the liver this lactic acid undergoes reverse reactions. Lactic acid becomes pyruvate becomes glucose, and this glucose then again enter into blood, comes to muscles, and now this glucose breaks down by aerobic respiration because oxygen is plentifully available now. So this lactic acid from muscles is moved to liver and it is converted into glucose, and glucose then enter into muscles and undergoes aerobic respiration. Because lactic acid is removed during resting time, the pains will be lost. Got it, students? This pyruvic acid now undergoes aerobic breakdown into carbon dioxide. Energy is liberated. So that is what the answer is. Got it? That's it. Thank you.